Okay, good day to all. Right. So today we are going to go through topic 3, chapter 3, which is on cost behavior. So these are the learning objectives. Okay, so in this chapter kita akan terangkan the total variable costs and variable costs per unit in the form of calculations and also graph. We will also explain the total fixed costs and fixed costs per unit, both methods in calculation and also graph. And then we will explain mixed costs, okay, and we will state the 3 methods of cost separations, okay, and we will segregate the mixed costs into fixed and variable costs by using the high-low activity method. And then we are going to use the segregated costs, which is done prior, to form the cost function, which is y equals to a plus bx. Okay, so basically untuk topic 3 we are going to go through the meaning of variable cost, whether it's in total ataupun cost per unit. The same thing we are going to do for fixed costs, and then kita akan go through the meaning of mixed costs and macam mana kita nak asingkan mixed costs, which consists of fixed and also variable costs, using the method that we focus in matriculation level. Actually, we have 3 methods to separate the costs, but we are going to focus only on one method, that is the high-low activity method. Okay, so once kita dah segregate all the fixed and the variable costs from the mixed costs, we are going to use the value to form the cost function, which is y equals to a plus bx. Okay, so basically the content for this topic is kita nak lebih faham maksud variable cost, fixed cost and also mixed cost. So variable cost kita akan tengok dari segi total and also cost per unit, and we are going to do the same thing for fixed cost, which is kita akan tengok bagaimana karakteristik dia dalam bentuk total and dalam bentuk per unit. Alright, and then we are going to go through the meaning of mixed costs, and then kita akan basically we'll go through all the 3 methods that is used to segregate the mixed costs, and then we're going to do calculations, okay, to see how we segregate the fixed and also variable costs from the mixed costs. Okay, variable costs. Okay, what's the meaning of variable costs? Okay, variable cost is actually the amount of total cost varies accordingly, okay, to the changes in the level of activity. Okay, so maksudnya variable cost ni kalau dalam bentuk total, okay, nilai dia akan berubah-ubah, okay, sebab dia berubah ikut tahap pengeluaran. Okay, if the level of activity increases, alright, the total of variable costs will increase and vice versa. So that means variable cost in total, okay, jumlah dia akan berubah ikut tahap pengeluaran. So if the tahap pengeluaran increase, meningkat, okay, the total variable cost will also increase. Okay, but if the level of activity decrease, menurun, so automatically the total of variable cost, total we are referring to total of variable cost, will also decrease. Okay, because total untuk variable cost ni dia berubah ikut tahap pengeluaran. Okay, so that is why we see the direct relationship with the level of activities, sebab totals tu dia akan ikut level of activity. Okay, ini kalau dalam bentuk total, jumlah. Okay, tapi the variable cost per unit, okay, variable cost, if it's in per unit, the item is actually a fixed figure. Alright, so contoh macam ni is direct material, direct labor and variable overhead. Okay, let's say I give you one example. Let's say the direct materials cost dia ialah 20 sen untuk 100 grams. Okay, so this is per unit. Alright, okay, the amount given here is per unit. Okay, so per unit here I'm actually referring to one product ataupun the variable cost in particular lah. Alright, so let's say per unit is 20 cents. So bila-bila saja kita buat pengeluaran, alright, the direct material will stay with the same amount, which is 20 cents. Okay, tapi as I said earlier, the amount of total cost varies accordingly to the changes in the level of activities. So maksudnya, kalau harga dia 20 sen and kita produce 100 units, okay, so that means the total will be 20 cents times 100. Okay, tapi kalau saya produce more than 100 units, let's say I produce it is still the same the same price for 1 unit, which is 20 cents. Okay, let's say I produce for 200 units. Okay, so you can see the difference here. Okay, kalau 100 units times 20 cents, that will be, okay, you have 100 unit times 20 cents, that will be 20 ringgit, right? Okay, this is RM20. Okay, but if it's 20 cents, okay, used to produce 200 units, okay, so your total of variable cost will be 40 ringgit. Okay, ini yang dimaksudkan dengan varies accordingly to the changes in the level activity. So per unit, the amount is the same, remains the same as 20 cents, tapi as the level of activities increased, you can see the total of variable costs also increase. Okay, and the total is actually varies lah. Okay, so this is basically the definition for variable cost. If it's in per unit, okay, nilai dia fix. Okay, as I said earlier, the total will be fixed. The per unit will be fixed, but for total cost, okay, it will varies because it changes accordingly, okay, with the level of activity. So here the level of activities is 100 units. So bila kita darab dengan 20 cents, the total cost for variable cost is 20 ringgit. But if I increase the level of activities to 200 units, my total cost for variable cost will change to 40 ringgit. Okay, so that is for variable cost. Okay, so we see the illustration here to see the definition clearer. Okay, so Mimi Cake House sells variety of cakes. The information below is related to its business operation. Okay, so dia bagi tahu dekat sini per unit. Okay, the cost of the flour is 80 cents. Okay, so this is for the production of 3 months. So the first month we have 2,000 units, and then the month after is 3,000, and then the third month is 4,000 units. So as you can see here, the total of production increases every month. Okay, so we are supposed to calculate the total variable cost and variable cost per unit of flour for each month. Okay, so if you understand the meaning given in the previous slide, okay, so when we are trying to find the cost per unit of flour for each month, so we just simply take the amount that is given in the question, which is 80 cents. Okay, so that means the cost per unit, the variable cost per unit for the flour to make this cake is 80 cents every month. Okay, it remains the same. So for the first month it is 80 cents, the second month it is also 80 cents, the third month it is also 80 cents, unless stated otherwise. Okay, so as you can see here, the production unit for the first month is 2,000. Okay, so the second month is 3,000 units, and the third month is 4,000 units. So if you are to calculate the total variable cost, that means we are going to multiply this production unit with 80 cents. Okay, so for the first month you're going to get 1,000, ringgit. Second month you're going to get 2,400 ringgit, and untuk bulan yang ketiga kita akan dapat 3,200 ringgit. Okay, so as you can see here, apa yang kita boleh summarize from this situation, it is given here, right? For variable cost per unit, okay, the amount is fixed. Okay, for per unit it's fixed, so maksudnya nilai dia tak berubah langsung. Tetapi when you multiply the variable cost per unit with the production unit, okay, it has a different level of production, okay, you'll get a different total each month. So as you can see here, the total variable cost for the production is you won't get the same amount, okay, because dia varies, and it is, as I said earlier, okay, the level of activities, okay, memainkan peranan penting, which dia akan change the total cost in the production. Okay, so that is why every month, okay, you are going to get different total variable cost, sebab dia akan bergerak ikut level of activity, ataupun in this situation it's the production unit. So variable cost per unit is fixed, but the total variable cost varies according to the level of production unit. Okay, so this is for variable cost. Okay, ini dalam bentuk graph. So as you can see here, is a relation. You can see the relation between the activity, which is the cost driver. Okay, the cost driver, that means unit yang menyebabkan total cost tu berubah. Dia adalah penggerak dia. Okay, so as you can see here, when the cost driver increases, okay, automatically the variable cost also increased. Okay, and dia berubah secara berkadaran. So you'll get a straight line here, okay, for total variable cost. Okay, so this is the relationship between total variable cost and the activity. Alright, okay, so this is for variable cost. Okay, now we are going to see the relationship between variable cost per unit and activity. Okay, this is for per unit. So as I said just now, alright, kalau per unit, okay, walaupun you nak keluarkan 1,000 unit or 2,000 unit or 3,000 unit, okay, if you want to see the relationship between the variable cost per unit, okay, kadar dia tetap sama, tidak berubah. Okay, sebab dekat sini we are going to see the relationship between the activity and the cost per unit. Right? The previous slide I showed just now, yang ini ialah relationship between total. So kalau total dengan per unit, you'll get a different graph. So this is for total cost, okay, for variable cost, and whereas this one is for the cost per unit. Okay, so you can see the relationship between these two, okay, with two different graphs. Okay, next we are going to go through the fixed cost. Okay, the fixed cost, kalau kita tengok the total cost, okay, it is fixed. Okay, when we are talking about total cost for fixed cost, it is fixed despite the changes in activities. Okay, so maksudnya contoh kalau I boleh bagi dekat sini is factory rental. Okay, let's say you are renting the factory for 2,000 ringgit per month. Okay, so your rent will be 2,000 ringgit per month despite how many units of product you are producing. So let's say kalau bulan tu awak tutup kilang sepenuhnya, there's no production at all, so your production is zero, but still you need to pay for the rent 2,000 ringgit. Okay, so let's say next month, kita buka balik kilang, you are going to produce 2,000 or 3,000 units. Okay, the amount of the rent that you need to pay is still the same amount, which is 2,000 ringgit. So that's why bila kita tengok fixed cost, the amount of total cost, okay, is fixed. Dia kekal sama, jumlah 2,000 tu tetap sama, tak kira how many units or despite any changes in the level of activities that you are doing in the factory. So kalau kita keluarkan satu pun, cost dia tetap sama. Keluarkan 1,000,000 pun, cost dia tetap sama. It won't affect the total cost for fixed cost. Okay, so that is we are talking that is if you are talking about the total of fixed cost. Okay, tapi kalau we are talking about the fixed cost per unit, okay, kalau per unit, yang ini dia berbeza sikit sebab dia akan decrease bila level of activity increase. Okay, so I bagi contoh, let's say the rent here is 1,000. Okay, so kalau first month, okay, your level of activity is 1,000. Okay, so your fixed cost per unit will be 1,000 divided by 1,000 unit. That is 1. Okay, so let's say for the second month, okay, your level of production increases. Dia jadi 2,000. So your fixed cost per unit, your fixed cost is still the same, it is still 1,000 ringgit. The rent is still 1,000 ringgit. Tapi kalau you nak divide dia with the level of activities, which is 2,000, okay, so you can see here the fixed cost per unit will decrease. So just now it was 1 ringgit, now it decreased to 50 cents. Okay, so you can see here apa dia punya relation. Okay, so once you increase the level of activities, automatically you will decrease the fixed cost per unit. Okay, so what are fixed costs? Okay, some of the examples here is the factory rent, insurance, okay, and you can also relate that to your depreciation expense, okay, and so forth, right? Okay, so we look at this illustration. Okay, the cost information shows the rent expense. Okay, this is rent expense. Okay, so every month you are supposed to pay 15,000 ringgit for the rent. Okay, so let's say we are given 3 months of production units. Okay, the first month is 5,000, second month is 6,000, and the third month is 7,000 unit respectively. And we are supposed to calculate the total fixed costs and fixed cost per unit. Okay, so this is slightly different from what we did for variable cost. Okay, kalau tadi variable cost per unit kat sini, you will just like take that 80 cents and put into the column. Tapi sekarang I cannot do that. Okay, sebab yang berubah sekarang ialah fixed cost per unit. Okay, previously for variable cost, yang berubah ialah total variable cost. Okay, but for fixed cost, yang tak berubah ialah total fixed cost. Okay, so this 15,000 is the total fixed cost for all three. Okay, so setiap bulan apa jadi pun we are still going to pay that 15,000. Tetapi for the first month your unit of production is 5,000, second month is 6,000, and the third month is 7,000. So automatically that means you have increased the level of activities. That means your fixed cost per unit will decrease prior to the level of activities. Okay, so sekarang we are still paying 15,000, tapi if we are going to find the fixed cost per unit, that means I am going to take 15,000 ringgit divide by 5,000. So the fixed cost per unit will be 3 ringgit. Okay, and when I increase the level of activity to 6,000, so my fixed cost per unit will be 15,000 ringgit divided by 6,000. So it is no longer 3 ringgit, it will decrease to 2 ringgit and 50 cents. Okay, and we are going to do the same thing when the level of activities increases to 7,000. So it is 15,000 ringgit divided by 7,000 unit. So as you can see here, all right, the total fixed cost, okay, remains the same, but the fixed cost per unit will decrease when you increases the level of activity or the production unit. Okay, so when the level of activity increases, automatically the fixed cost per unit will decrease. Okay, so that is for fixed cost. Okay, next we are going to see the relationship between total fixed cost and activity. Okay, so yang ni ialah graph on total fixed cost. Okay, so you boleh tengok kat sini. Okay, the graph dia sama aras je kan. That means the total fixed cost remain the same even though the cost driver ataupun the activity unit changes. Okay, but for fixed cost per unit, okay, so kita boleh tengok graph dia adalah macam ni, because once you increases the level of activities, automatically the cost per unit akan decrease. So that's why you get this kind of graph. Okay, so this is for fixed cost per unit. Alright, okay, next we're going to go through mixed cost. Okay, mixed cost ni dia ada both behavior, which is it's a combination between fixed costs and also variable costs. Alright, so the total mixed cost it does varies, okay, but not accordingly direct to the changes in the level of activities. Okay, so dia berbeza tapi dia tak sifat dia, sebab it's a combination, right? So dia ada sedikit campuran antara characteristic of fixed cost and also variable cost. Okay, so the common example in the question we come across is utilities lah. Alright, so whenever you come across the item of utilities in your question, normally utilities ni is a combination of both fixed and mixed, fixed and variable costs. Okay, contoh macam bill electric, okay, and then you have your internet. Okay, dia ada at certain limit, dia punya level of production is at the same cost of is at the same level of cost, and then when you increases the level of activities, nilai dia akan berubah-ubah. That's why it is considered a mixed cost, because it has it's a mixture, okay, between fixed cost and also variable cost. Okay, so this is the relationship between mixed cost and the activity. Okay, so as you can see here, kalau fixed cost, nampak graph yang dekat bawah tu, yang garis putus-putus tu, this is actually your fixed cost graph, right? Okay, but when it is mixed cost, okay, your graph is actually the one in blue. This is your mixed cost graph. Okay, so kalau dalam soalan you get to see the fixed cost amount, so the fixed cost amount will be here. So that means amount yang berada di bawah ni represent the fixed cost amount, whereas the one on top of above of the fixed cost amount is actually your variable cost. So yang ni keseluruhan ni is actually kawasan untuk mixed cost lah. Okay, and it consists of two parts, which is the fixed cost area and the variable cost area. Okay, so this is a relationship between mixed costs and mixed costs and the cost driver or activity. Okay, alright, so we go to the illustration for mixed costs. Okay, so let's say you are given 3 months of production, which is for January, February and also March. So the production unit for January is 1,800, February is 2,500, and for March is 3,000. Okay, and you are given a few production costs here. Okay, so you have the supervisor salary, the direct material, the maintenance, the utility, and the factory rent. Okay, so whenever you come across this kind of question, the first thing that you need to do is actually to determine which. Okay, it's about classification of costs is very important. So in this topic, you are supposed to classify the cost given into according to the behavior of the cost. Alright, so you can kenal pasti which is fixed cost, variable costs, and also mixed costs. Okay, so if you are not able to do that, okay, you can't answer the question. So that's why you need to segregate according to the behavior of the costs before you can answer the question. All right, okay. So the first thing that you need to do, as I said earlier, alright, kita kena identify the cost behavior. So daripada all the costs given there, you need to know yang mana fixed cost, and mana variable cost, and yang mana mixed cost. So whenever you come across the mixed cost, okay, the first thing that you need to do is separate the elements of variable cost and fixed cost in the mixed cost first. Okay, and then only you can calculate the cost estimation. So the purpose of having the segregation of variable fixed cost, okay, and then when you form the cost equation, okay, the purpose of doing that is actually for you to calculate the cost estimation for certain product or certain cost behavior. All right, okay. So method for segregation of mixed costs, okay, as I mentioned earlier in the learning objectives, actually we have three, which is the high-low activity, the graph method, and also the simple regression. Okay, but for matriculation level, we are going to focus only on one method, that is the high-low method activity. Alright, okay. So macam mana nak jawab soalan menggunakan high-low activity method? Okay, so data on the highest activity and the lowest activity are used to estimate the variable cost per unit and the total variable. So bila anda diberi soalan, the first thing that you need to do is find the highest point of activity and find the lowest point of activity. And when we say activity, that means we are focusing on the X element, okay, or the unit of production. Okay, so activity or cost driver here can be stated, okay, dalam soalan you will come across this form. Kita boleh nampak dalam bentuk sama ada production unit or direct labor hours or machine hours. So these are the cost driver that will drive the cost to certain level of amount. Okay, so we are supposed to calculate the total fixed cost, and then we will apply the cost function into the we will apply the cost that we already calculated earlier into the cost function, which is y equals to a plus bx, in order to find b. Alright, okay, so this is a cost function. Okay, seperti mana yang kita tahu, total cost dalam sesuatu production ataupun manufacturing consists of total fixed cost plus total variable cost. Okay, alright, so now kita dah tahu total cost equals to total fixed cost plus total variable cost. So it is y equals to a plus bx. Okay, so what is y, a, b and x? Okay, y dekat sini is actually the estimation of total cost. So we are supposed to calculate the estimation of total cost. So dia punya pemboleh ubah yang kita guna di sini ialah y. Okay, and a here represent the total fixed cost. B here represent the variable cost per unit. Ada beza ya. Y is total fixed cost, whereas B is not total, it's variable cost per unit. And X here is your cost driver or the activity. So it depends on the question given, whether it's production unit, direct labor hours or machine hours. So you're going to gantikan nilai X tu mengikut the cost driver given in the question. Okay, alright. So in conclusion, right, the characteristic of the cost, okay, kalau kita tengok dari segi behavior, alright, characteristic of cost, it can be either total cost or cost per unit. Okay, and apa sifat-sifat atau ciri variable cost? Kalau dia dalam bentuk total, alright, dia berbeza-beza. It varies according to level of activities. Tapi kalau variable cost per unit, it is constant. Constant, that means nilai dia kekal sama lah. Okay. Tapi untuk fixed cost, kalau dia dalam bentuk total cost, the amount of it is constant. Whereas kalau dia dalam bentuk cost per unit, okay, the fixed cost per unit varies, and dia akan decrease bila level of activity increases. Alright, okay. And for mixed cost, it's a combination of both. So bila total cost dia varies, dia punya cost per unit also varies, berbeza-beza. So bila kita nak segregate mixed cost untuk tahu sama ada dia fixed ataupun variable, okay, you will use all these characteristic untuk kenal pasti which is mixed cost, which is fixed cost, and which is variable cost. Okay, so untuk slide sebelumnya yang saya tunjukkan tadi, which is a cost function, okay, I will elaborate on this in my next video. So for this first part, okay, for this part 1, I only focus on the theory part. So dekat sini, all that you need to know is actually how kita nak determine whether the cost given to you is actually variable cost, fixed cost, or mixed cost. Okay, sebab apa? Sebab kita perlukan nilai tersebut, okay, untuk bentuk cost function. Alright, so what's the purpose of having a cost function? Because we are supposed to estimate the total cost. Okay, in this topic, in this chapter, okay, your learning outcomes will bring you to the last part of it, which is the estimation of total cost. So kita selain daripada kenal pasti fixed cost, variable cost, and also mixed cost, okay, dan bila kita dah kenal pasti dia sebagai mixed cost, you need to segregate asing, sebab kita tak boleh kira mixed cost as one item. We need to segregate dia into fixed and fixed cost and variable cost. Then only kita boleh guna nilai tersebut dan gantikan ke dalam cost function to get A and B. Right, so once you already form the cost function, okay, you can use the cost function to estimate total cost when you are given any level of activities. So selalunya dalam soalan dia akan tanya berapakah kos yang perlu ditanggung sekiranya kita keluarkan certain level of activities. Let's say here dia akan bagi X berapa unit. Okay, let's say dia bagi X equals to 3,000. So how many costs that you need to bear if the level of production is X equals to 3,000? So next maybe dia akan bagi another level of production. Let's say dia bagi X equals to 5,000. Okay, so kita akan kira pula how much is the cost estimation if you were to produce 5,000 unit of product. Okay, so that's the main learning objectives in topic 3. Okay, so for better understanding, okay, I will elaborate all this in the second part of my video. Okay, so that's all for now. Thank you.